Introducing the new, improved Dr. Theopolis. Hey everybody. Well, this is an update video to the last video I made a few days ago about the Dr. Theopolis prop. So this is a brand new Dr. Theopolis. So in that last video, and I'll leave a link down in the description below if you want to check that video out. But in that video, I mentioned how I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been some kind of a prop company that has made a Dr. Theopolis. I mean, there's very few around. And so right after I made that video, I was kind of looking around, and lo and behold, I find a company that made this one. And this one is actually far superior to the one I just showed. So I will show you the comparison between this one and the one I originally had. So this one is by a company called Resident Dreamer. And so residentdreamer.com. I'll leave a link down below in the description for that as well. And he sells these, and he makes them, and they are beautiful. This is a beautifully made Dr. Theopolis. I've seen quite a few in my day over the years, and this one here is far superior to any of the other ones I've ever seen. So let's get a closer look at it. All right, so looking at the detail here, this is very similar to the one that I had previously, but everything on here is way more crisper and cleaner. One of the first things I noticed that the graphics are a little more brightly colored. On the other Dr. Theopolis, they're more see-through or transparent, and they may have been that way on the original prop, but as far as this one goes, it just shows up way better. I mean, you can see all the great colors and stuff going on in there. And then also the acrylic pieces, like his little mouth area here, and then the eyebrows, they're more clear. On the previous one, they're kind of scratched up, and the person who made it didn't polish them up like these are. And so I think these look a lot better. And then also the eyes are very similar to the one I had before. But this one is really nice and really well done. Let me show you the back of it. Okay, so on the back here, you can see that there is a switch. And then also there's a speaker, so that gives you a hint right there that this has electronics. It's got way more accurate lights, since I didn't have accurate lights for the other one. And this one actually has sound clips from the episodes, and they're great. So yeah, this is really cool. Now once you take the back off, and it comes off very easily, this little panel just pops right off of here. You can see all the magic that happens on the inside. So this is very professionally done. This is a 4 AA battery pack here. Very easy to access and change the batteries out. You got all this wiring, tons and tons of wiring for the lighting. There's a lot of lights on this thing, and they're all very professionally put together. There's little zip clips on here to keep everything nice and tidy, and you can see all the wiring here. This is the circuit board that has the voice and lighting effects, which I'm sure was custom made and probably expensive to make as well. This is the little speaker for the voice, and then there's the switch. So it's all compact and perfectly done. Okay, so I went back and watched a couple of episodes to refresh my memory. And so the one on the left here is the new one, and this one's the original. So I do think now, watching those episodes, that the color on this one is more accurate. It did have this kind of more of an iridescent green color versus the more kind of toned down duller green over here. But, you know, I'm fine with that. This color, you know, I'm fine with the way that looks. But this actually is more accurate. And then also, this one is bigger. You can see the circumference of it is bigger versus this one, and that's great, because I always thought this one was a little too small. I've always thought that ever since I got it. And now watching the episodes now, especially looking at it in comparison to Tweaky's body, I do think that this one is more accurate in size. Alright, so let's get some close-ups of these two, and I'll show you some of the differences. Okay, so besides the color and all that stuff, we're going to look at the acrylic. So the red acrylic on the original version, you can see it's kind of scratched up. They didn't really do any kind of polishing on it for the eyebrow and the mouth section over here. But on the newer one, you can see that it's much more refined and much more polished. And then down here as well. And then if you look at the graphics on this one, see how they're kind of see-through? You can almost kind of see through them a little bit, and they're almost pastelish or a little faded out on there. But on this newer one here, see how much brighter those are? They really stand out and look really good. So that just absolutely looks fantastic. And so the eyes are pretty much the same as far as their shaping goes, and their size looks about, I think these ones might be just slightly bigger but everything is just fine. On the original prop, if you look closely, especially in the early episodes, there you can see all the wires going on in here. I mean, there's just a ton of wires that are actually very visible. And then these little chips were actually just for looks. They weren't really connected to anything, so it was just part of the look that they gave him. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's the main differences between these two. On the side here, this whole section in the middle here is actually made of resin, so that's like a nice solid resin material. And then this, I think, is styrene, as well as the back. It's like a vacuum form styrene or some kind of plastic. So that's kind of the same as the original. And then this clip looks just like the original clip that you saw in the show, where it would hang off of Tweaky's neck. All right, so I'm sure you are dying to see what this looks like lit up, so let's fire it up. Okay, so when you first turn it on, it takes a few seconds to kind of kick in, and then there's a little motion sensor up here. You may have noticed this little thing. That's the only thing that doesn't look quite accurate on the face of Dr. Theopolis, but that's what activates them. And so the voices are random, and sometimes it'll repeat some of the phrases, and there's a lot of phrases from Tweaky as well. So let me turn this on, and then it takes a couple seconds here to kick in. See any second here.
Don't think thoughts like that. You'll run down your batteries. I smell a rat. And kindly reserve your opinion. I have not seen Colonel Veering so uncharacteristically emotional about anything before.
The lights look fantastic on it.
Be a good drone, Tweaky, and place me on the table where I can get a good look at the captain while you get him some liquid refreshment. You can take my word, he's a wonderful man.
You two look like leftover dinners.
Why, thank you, Tweaky. We appreciate that.
Anytime.
You can take my word, he's a wonderful man.
Okay, so you can see it repeat sometimes.
Let's just say that on their last encounter, Tweaky lived up to his name.
You know what that chance means, bub?
I'm introducing a pale hint of mauve into the sunset this evening. Not so deep as an amethyst, but the more subtle burn texture of cinnamon.
A lot of these are from the pilot episode.
Sit down, Captain. Let's both try to be as pleasant as possible.
Life is tough. Tricky little devil, ain't you? Only Toledo, Doc.
Oh, that was cool.
Are you all right, Buck? Did you hear me? Buck?
What a bummer.
Let me see. Alright, so sometimes I have to reset it to make him say the other lines.
Just when you thought it was safe in the 25th century.
Yeah, there he goes.
I'm introducing a pale hint of mauve into the sunset this evening. Not so deep as an amethyst, but the more subtle burn texture of cinnamon.
Okay, we heard that one.
You want to run that by me again?
Dr. Hewer, there's no time for that. I must remind you that Princess Ardala is expecting Buck to arrive in her chambers within the hour.
There's a couple in here that don't come up as frequently. Let me see if I can have them come up.
You're freezing my ball bearings off.
That one there, that one doesn't come up often enough. It's pretty funny.
You can take my word, he's a wonderful man.
I smell a rat.
Okay, we might have gotten all of them.
I have not seen Colonel Veering so uncharacteristically emotional about anything before.
I think there's maybe
Don't
one.
think thoughts like that. You'll run down your batteries.
You know what that chance means, bub?
Okay.
Achayim.
Okay, I think I got all of them. I think that was all of them.
What about Buck?
Oh, I don't think we heard that one. Okay, that might be all of them. So, yeah, I think we got through all the sound
I
bites.
have not seen Colonel Veering so uncharacteristically emotional about anything before.
Okay, well, that is the new Dr. Theopolis prop. And I gotta say, this one's leaps and bounds better than the original one I had. Although I have to give credit to the last one. I've had that one for 10 years or more. I'm not really even sure. And, you know, at the time, that was the only one that I've seen that was available that looked really good. But now this one here is just superior to any of the other ones I've seen. Very, very nicely constructed. I mean, the acrylic pieces in here are just, you know, mirror finished, beautiful. just like the real Doctor. You know, you got the upper layer here. There's a second layer down below, and then there's a third layer, I think, where all the graphics are, and it's got like that mirrored background in there. These acrylic pieces are really nicely cut and polished, and they look really good. The eyes have the smaller checkerboard kind of pattern going on in there, which I think is probably also more accurate. But this thing is just beautiful. And so, like I mentioned, I got this from a company called Resident Dreamer. So if you go to residentdreamer.com, you will find this on there. And so just a heads up, these are not cheap. They are not cheap. I had to really think about getting this thing. So the price for this was $535. So yes, very expensive. But you have to keep in mind that when it comes to these kinds of things, they are expensive to produce. They are not mass produced. They are made by a private person or a private company, and a lot of work goes into the research and development of something like this. And also, you know, all these parts, especially the acrylic and stuff, have to be machined. And so if you don't have your own, you know, machines to cut those, the CNC laser cutters and things, you gotta farm it out to somebody else. And oftentimes those companies will say that they'll do it for you, but you have to make, you know, 10 or 20 of them, and the cost is very high. So you know, there's a lot of cost that goes into making something like this. That circuit board that I showed you in the back had to be custom made for this particular thing, and as well as the sound chips. And then all the work that goes into, you know, making this and painting it and putting it all together and getting the sound bites on a chip like that. So there is a lot of work that goes into something like this. So the price is going to be pretty high. But if you're going to want a really good quality piece like this, that is the best place I have found to get a Dr. Theopolis. Dr. Theopolis was always kind of a grail prop for me ever since I used to watch Buck Rogers back in the 80s, which, you know, if you watch that show, it really hasn't weathered time too well. Some of the episodes are pretty cheesy. I think everybody's favorite episode was the Space Vampire episode. That one's pretty cool. But yeah, you know, it's just one of these shows where it had really cool props on it, and I always loved Dr. Theopolis. Even though he was only in the first season, by the time the second season came around, they kind of decided to go a different direction with the show, and they were now on the Searcher, that spaceship, and then Dr. Theopolis here was kind of replaced by that big tall robot named Crichton, who was kind of a pompous robot. He was always, you know, putting his arms up on his hips, and his neck would stretch, and he had kind of a droll voice, and the way he talked to everybody, it was kind of funny. I liked him. He was actually a real remote control robot for that show, which was kind of a you know, an innovative thing back in the day. But anyway, so yeah, this is a really awesome Dr. Theopolis. I think this is now a very highly coveted piece on my collection now. And yes, it's going to take me a while to, you know, recover from the paying of this, but you know, oh God, it's so worth it. So yes, residentdreamer.com if you want to check it out. The man's name is Sean. Super nice guy, very helpful, very accommodating. He shipped it out in 2 days. It was like a 2-day shipping thing. And so really excellent work. So a huge shout out to Sean at residentdreamer.com. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a like. And if you'd like, you can also subscribe, because I do this kind of stuff on all my videos. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. And have a good one.